Hi, and welcome to my channel. My name is Celeste, and this is Healing Through Parenting. And I want to talk about the 4 steps to emotional regulation, how you use this on yourself, and in order to use it on your child. So, I'm going to use an example. And if you have not watched my 4 steps video so that you understand what the steps are and how our brains work, I recommend that you watch those videos first so that you understand the premise of the 4 steps to emotional regulation. So the 4 steps are to identify the emotion that your child is feeling, validate the reason they're feeling it, take a deep breath, and then problem solve. So and the 4 steps help de-escalate any situation that would normally end up with a punishment or a reward. So if there's a situation that would normally end up with your child getting a privilege taken away or getting them put in timeout or getting unfortunately spanked or having a privilege taken away, use the 4 steps instead of your traditional form of punishments, and it will help decrease the chance that your child will misbehave again in the future, and will help create more love and more connection with you and your child so that your child feels unconditionally loved instead of feeling rejected when a punishment happens. So in order to do the 4 steps on your child, you have to do them on yourself first so that you understand how it feels to have the 4 steps happen to you so that you can in turn use the 4 steps on your child. And in order for this to work, every time that your child misbehaves and you want to use a punishment, do the 4 steps on yourself before acting so that you can be in your rational state, so that you can then learn a new way to handle the situation, teach your child a new way to handle the situation, and you're both in your rational states and you're both connected and you're both increasing love and connection between the two of you. Instead of fracturing the relationship because you're using punishments. So the example that I want to use is, have you ever been in a situation where you have your child and they run across the street in a parking lot, and you have to run after them, you grab them, you hold their hand, and you say, "Don't you ever run across the street in a parking lot. Don't you ever let go of my hand," or you get really, really mad at them if they run. So I'm going to use that situation as an example for how to use the 4 steps on yourself and then how to use them on your child. So if you have a child who is like a flight child, I guess, like who always bolts. So say you just went into Target, you did your shopping, you have a handful of like grocery bags, and your child's hand is in your other hand. When your child normally gets into the street like this, they have a likelihood to let go of your hand and run. So right before, so put yourself in that position, okay? And say you're standing there, you have your child's hand, and this is like right before you get into the street. Your child has not let go yet, and you know that your child is going to let go because they do it almost every single time you're running across the street. You have to do the 4 steps on yourself at this point. So think about, and you can do this with any situation. If there's a situation that happens often, while you're not in the situation, do the 4 steps on yourself so that you can problem solve and be ready for it next time, because it's really hard to do the 4 steps on yourself in the moment when you are in your survival state. So because when like we're parents, we have that mama bear or papa bear thing going on, and like we are like, rah, we want to make sure that they're safe. There's no way that you're going to be able to do the 4 steps on yourself in that moment because the situation is too intense. So when you're sitting down on your couch or while you're watching this video, do the 4 steps so that you can handle the situation differently when you get into it next time. So right before they let go, think about, what are you feeling? What are some of the emotions that you're feeling up to that moment? So you could be feeling fed up. You could be feeling fear. anger, panic, desperate. You'd be feeling desperate. You could be feeling just like a lot of fear, like terror. And you have a good reason to be feeling terror or desperate, because what would happen if your child lets go of your hand and a car comes? They could get hit by the car, and that would be disastrous. That would be heartbreaking, and that would be horrible. Like, nobody ever wants to see their child get hurt. And your child does not know. Your child doesn't know that a car could come and they could hit them, but you do. And in that moment, right before you're about to step into the street, your child is going to run, and your brain is saying, if they run, they will get hit by a car, because the likelihood of that happening is high, especially in a busy parking lot. So you want to make sure that your child is safe, and you're feeling terror, and you're feeling panic, and you're feeling them for a good reason. You're feeling them because you don't want to see your child get hurt. You want to make sure that they're safe, and they're doing something that is unsafe. And if you stay in your survival state, if you stay and live in that fear, your child is going to learn to be afraid in a parking lot. Your child's going to learn to be afraid, and they're not going to be able to actually learn how to stay safe in a parking lot. They're going to learn to be fearful, because when you're fearful and say they bolt, you catch them, and then you get down on their level and you say, don't you ever, blah, 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 whatever you say, then you're taking that fear, you're instilling it in them, and now they're fearful. And that could be contributing to why they're bolting in the parking lot unintentionally. So we have identified the feeling that we're having. We're validating the reason that it's there. We want to make sure that our child is safe, and we're feeling scared that they're going to be hurt if they run, because they've run in the past, and we don't want to see that happen again. So we're going to take a deep breath. And now we should feel a shift. We should feel a shift, and now we're going to be thinking, and we're going to be able to problem solve. Because right now, we're not in a parking lot. Nothing bad is happening. We're going to do some grounding. We're going to make sure that we're feeling safe, we're feeling secure. And now we're going to be able to use the 4 steps on our child so that they are safe in a parking lot. So when we get into that situation again, we're holding our child's hand. We have our grocery bags in the other hand. We know that the child is going to bolt. So instead of just holding onto their hand really tight, or instead of having to chase after them when they run, we're going to put down the bags. We're going to face them. We're going to hold their hands, and we're going to do the 4 steps on them before we even step into the street. Okay? So we have to identify when your child bolts, what is the emotion that they're feeling underneath the behavior? The behavior is running across the street. What emotion are they feeling underneath that's causing them to run across the street? So they could be feeling like, hey, freedom. There's like so much space to run here. We were just in a store for a long time, and I just need a run. So they might be feeling maybe trapped. They might be feeling excited. They might be feeling bored, and they just want to do something fun. They could be feeling, let's see, I'm looking at the 4 steps, or I'm looking at the color spectrum of emotions and seeing what could they be feeling. Maybe they're feeling fed up. Maybe they're feeling fed up of having to be in the store the whole time, and they just wanted to run. Maybe they're feeling stressed. Maybe the shopping that was in the store was really stressful. Maybe you're having a hard day and they wanted to run the whole time, and the whole shopping experience was stressful. So now they're outside, they have room to run, and they just want to run because they're stressed out and they need to get their energy out and they need to feel good. Maybe that's what's happening. Who knows? So you're going to hold their hands and you're going to say, I know you're feeling stressed. That shop was really difficult for both of us. Okay? You have identified the emotion, which is stress, validated the reason, which is it was a stressful experience. That shopping experience we had was really hard. We had to get a lot of things, and this is just miserable because nobody likes being stuck in a store for an hour. That was really hard. We're about to go home and things are going to get better. But right now, it's time for us to walk across the street to get to the car. And we need to make sure that we're safe while we're doing it. Okay? And this is where you then take a deep breath with them. You've identified, you've validated, you've taken a deep breath. And in another video you can check out, I have a link in the, up here, right? Is it here? Right up here? This is where you can watch a video about different creative deep breathing techniques that you can try with your child that help increase their imagination and creativity and help them get into green a lot easier than just taking a traditional deep breath. So you're going to do a creative deep breathing technique with them, and then you're going to problem solve. You're going to hold their hands and you're going to tell them, what do you want them to do instead of running across the street? Do you want them to hold your hand? Do you want them to hold onto the cart? Do you want them to, how do you want them to get across the street safely? So you're going to explain to them, it's really important that you hold my hand when we're in the parking lot. People, when they're driving their cars, because you're small, you're a child, they can't see you. And if you run across the street and a driver doesn't see you, they could back their car into you and they could hit you, and that could really, really hurt your body. You could end up in the hospital if you get hit by a car. I want to make sure that you're safe because I love you and I care about you. And in order to be safe, you must hold my hand while we're in a parking lot. If you feel like you want to run, we could do that outside in the backyard when we get home. Or after we put the groceries away, we could take a trip to the park to run. But you may not run in a parking lot because it's not safe. So you have, in the problem solving, you've given them what do you want them to do instead and why, because now they can learn. Now they have been able to retain that information. Oh, you have painted a picture in their head of what would happen if they run. And you've also painted a picture in their head of what you want them to do instead. You want them to hold your hand because you love them and you care about them. So you're increasing love and connection and safety instead of instilling more fear in them by being in a fear response yourself. You hold their hand, you put the groceries in, they get in the car, and then you drive home, and you're both happier for it, and nobody is afraid. So you can use these 4 steps on any situation, and if you are struggling with the behavior that you're having with your child, I do offer online consulting where you can go into a Zoom meeting with me and have a one-on-one conversation with whatever you're struggling with, and I can help you sort out these 4 steps with whatever situation you're facing, help you come up with some solutions, creative ideas, and help you problem solve through whatever situation you might be struggling with your child. So you can find a link to my website below, and you can just click on book an appointment, and you can set up an appointment with me. And I look forward to meeting with you online in a Zoom meeting. I hope that this was helpful, and I wish you peace, love, health, and joy. Bye-bye.